designing the work. He's somebody who actually knows. He's like you. He finds it like 35 months to work.
Yeah. No worries. We don't want to bump into you. No worries.
Well, I've been.
Is this okay? Yeah, you're great.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the Broad series, The Unprivate Collection, which is a series of conversations with artists in the Broad collection. I'm Ed Patuto. I'm the Director of Audience Engagement at the Broad, and this is an opportunity for me to talk some about our founders, Edie and Eli Broad's vision for Grand Avenue, because it was their belief that any cultural center, civic cultural center, had to have an arts high school as an essential component of it. So they donated the funds to build Grand Arts High, where we're broadcasting from today, and we're going to see this production. And their namesake museum, which is just a few blocks south of here, is continuing the legacy by continuing to partner with Grand Arts. And today, we're bringing the production of Anne Carson's Pinplay to this audience and the audience at home. Renowned poet, educator, and translator Anne Carson wrote Pinplay at the invitation of Elliott Hundley. Elliott, whom we are very proud to count among the many great artists in the Broad collection, created a series of artworks based on Euripides' The Bacchae. One of those artworks, entitled The High House Low, has been on view at the Broad and is one of our more popular artworks among our visitors. Those of you who were watching today at home were able to see The High House Low on your screen while you're waiting for today's program to begin. Pinplay was written by Anne in response to this piece. When I approached Elliott about doing a conversation on The High House Low, he suggested that we invite Anne and her partner, artist, theater director Bob Currie, to stage Pinplay with local students. And without hesitation, I said yes. This was a great opportunity to work with the community. These students, whom you're going to see perform today, have been welcomed to Elliott's studio to experience the studio practice, to learn how Elliott translated the story of Pentheus, the king of Thebes, his mother Agave, and the god Dionysus, or Bacchus in Latin, into a masterwork. And Anne generously donated copies of her translation of the Bacchae to the students, which they eagerly absorbed. And it was very obvious by the questions they asked that they had read and taken in all of the content in this very beautiful poem. And I want to express my gratitude to Anne, to Currie, and to Elliott for their generosity in creating this extraordinary experience for these students. And I wanted to give you all a round of applause for doing so. This week, Anne and Currie have been conducting workshops for the students to produce their own version of this play. Today's presentation is a stage reading of the play and was developed by the students using Anne and Currie's model of collective authorship. The sets and props were created by Julie McManus's visual arts students, and the play is directed and acted by Dave Metz's theater students. Before we begin, I want to thank drama teacher Dave Metz, Julie McManus, who is the visual arts faculty, and Russell Copley, who oversees the arts programs at Grand Arts. These students and many others here at the school are fortunate to have such committed and adventurous role models, and thank you all for making this possible. So thank you all, both at home and here in the theater, for joining with us today. For those of you here, this is a reminder to silence your cell phones before the play starts. The students, though, do have a rehearsed response in case you forget. And immediately following Pinplay, Russell Copley will lead the students, Elliott, Anne, and Currie, in a discussion about their creative process. And before I close, most importantly, I just wanted to say to the students, we've all been greatly inspired by your work this week, and I want to say congratulations and break a leg.
On ancient Greek tragedy, a curious art form. Why does tragedy exist? Because you are full of rage. Why are you full of rage? Because you are full of grief. Ask a headhunter why he cuts off human heads. He'll say that rage impels him, and rage is born of grief. The act of severing and tossing away the victim's head enables him to throw away the anger of all his bereavements. Perhaps you think this does not apply to you. Yet you recall the day that your wife, driving you to your mother's funeral, turned left instead of right at the intersection, and you had to scream at her so loud other drivers turned to look. When you tore off her head and threw it out the window, they nodded, changed gears, and drove away.
Pinplay, a version of Euripides' Bacchae. Prologue.
Dionysus is the god of the beginning, before the beginning.
What makes beginnings special?
Think of your first sip of wine from a really good bottle, opening page
Of a crime novel. Start of an idea.
tingle of falling in love. Beginnings have their own energy,
Ethics.
tonality,
Color.
greenish, bluish, purple, dewy and cool, almost transparent. As a ripe grape, tone about parity, things just about to change.
Already looking different. Energy headlong and heedless.
And shocked, like a beam. Ethics fantastically selfish.
He is a young god, mythologically obscure, always just arriving.
At some new place, to disrupt the status quo, wearing the start of a smile.
The Greeks called him foreign and staged his incursion into polis after polis.
In stories like the one in Euripides' Bacchae, a shocking play,
Lecturing in Japan, Stephen Hawking was asked not to mention that the universe
had a beginning, and so likely an end. Because it
in
would affect,
effect, the stock market.
speculation aside,
We all need prehistory. According to Freud, we do things, we do nothing but repeat it. Beginnings are special.
because most of them are fake. The new person you become with that first sip of wine,
Was already there. Look at Pentheus, twirling around in a dress.
so pleased with his girl guys, he's almost in tears. Are we to believe
This desire is new. Why was he keeping that dress in the back?
of his closet anyhow? Costume is flesh. Look at Dionysus,
Plucked prematurely from his doomed mother's womb and sewn up
in the thigh of Zeus, to be born again later. Life is a rehearsal.
for life. Here's a well-known secret about Dionysus.
Despite all those legends of him as a new god, imported to Greece from the east,
His name is already on Linear B tablets that date to the 12th century BC.
previousness is something a god can manage fairly well.
Time of fiction for him, but mortals less so.
Look at those poor passionate women who worship this god, the Bacchae.
Destroyers of livestock and local people, and Pentheus the king.
They had a prior existence once. The herdsman describes them lying at peace in the mountains, calm as buttons on a shirt,
This was the world before men. Then the posse arrives.
and violence begins. What does this tell us? The shock of the new?
Prepare its own unveiling in old and brutal ways. Dionysus is not.
Explain or regret anything. He is pleased,
If he can cause you to perform despite your plan,
despite your politics,
despite your neurosis,
despite your Dionysian theories of self,
something quite previous,
the desire,
before the desire,
The lick of the beginning, you know you don't know. If life is a stage, that is the show. Exit Dionysus.
Enter Dionysus.
Who is Dionysus?
Who is Dionysus?
Enter Chorus.
Enter chorus. Dionysus is a god.
You know what gods get a kick out of?
Gods get a kick out of pinnacles.
And what is a pinnacle?
A pinnacle is a lot of pins.
Have we any pins?
Let's go get some.
Exit Dionysus.
Batten, brass fastener, buckle, button, clamp, or cramp, captive fastener, buckleby, clasp.
Clecco, clip, circlip, paper clip, clutch, pin fastener, flange, frog, grommet, masonry anchor, nail, peg, clevis pin, clothespin, cotter pin, dowel pin, lynch pin, R-clip, retaining ring.
Rivet, rubber band, screw anchor, self-clinching snap, threaded insert, threaded rod, nut, screw, stud, toggle.
Velcro, wedge anchor, see also safety wire, zipper.
If you have any questions, you may consult
The Fastener Quality Act, FQA, Public Law 101-592.
But please note,
FQA violation hotline
is only
for reporting alleged violations,
not
for eliciting pity and fear.
Enter Citizens Z.
Ready to go?
Yes, I guess.
So,
Spread the map on the table.
Hang a lantern from stern.
Bring your parka.
Bring the cantaloupe.
Bring the polymer.
Bring the pins.
We're going over the mountain to swap out our skins.
Holiness is a word I love to hear. It sounds like wings to me. Wings brushing the world, grazing my life. Pentheus has a harsh sound, a negative sound. He's against Dionysus, against rejoicing, against laughter, against flutes, not to mention the transcendent gladness of grapes and wine, so beneficial to body, soul, and psyche's interior design.
I'm saying his tongue is unbridled, his reasoning reckless. His end may be hot and hard, a life of quiet discretion, still as a summer day, holds a house together. Cleverness is not wisdom. Far off in the sky live the gods who never die. But they watch us. They watch how far we press our limits. There is a morning star. There is an evening star. Don't press too far.
I dream of a perfectly clear afternoon on the island where Aphrodite sits, counting her blessings beside the erotic sea. I dream of rivers with 100 mouths and mountains, where the leaves turn over like silver fire. Take me there, Dionysus, oh Diamond, oh Bacchus, take me. Somewhere ruled by the law of desire, where we can dance you and never tire.
Our God loves festivity. He loves serenity. When you're high or low or rich or simple, all the same. Dionysus will fill your soul with peace. It's not about intellectual prowess. It's about true and false. It's pure release. It's your life, night and day, free of grief. Dionysus' gift. Say no, and he will hate you. Choose this practice. Most people do. I too.
Enter Agave.
Wait for me. I'm Agave. I have my own pins, and I'm bringing the lacuna.
Exit Citizens and Agave with Lacuna. Enter Dionysus and Pentheus, King of Thieves.
So you asked how it's going in my well-lighted day. Did I ask?
I don't think so.
And you're aware I can have you arrested for smiling at me that way.
Do I smile?
I don't think so. And as for going over the mountain with you, absolutely nay.
Kidding, you silly.
You silly.
You know what they
Unless you
say.
take money,
Unless
no one
you
calls it
take
gay.
money. No one calls it.
My nerves are wrecked, but well then. Oh, okay.
We're tragic.
We're lavender.
Touche.
Exit Dionysus and Polynices.
How many pins can dance on the head of a king?
How many kings can you pin to the dance of my head? How many dances left stains on the woman he was?
How many stains have been quiet? Oh, Agave.
Enter Agave exultant and covered in blood, carrying the head of Pentheus impaled on the foot.
Oh! Speak, Agave.
I've come with the pins.
We welcome the pins.
I've stained them as prizes.
We prize them as kings.
How many kings? Did you rip the cheeks off? How many cheeks?
Did you pin to the delicate mouth of the mother?
How many mouths did she need?
To finish the meat?
Not so many.
A happy number?
A clever number. A realistic number. Frolic of a number. But then again, actually, not much of a number.
If you think about it,
A dismal little number.
If you study it closely.
Just a sob of a number.
Oh, Agave.
What? Your sob has a name.
How many names can I pry
from the head of a pun?
just one.
Here's how it went.
The
gods had soundboard, wood, plastic, paper, photographs, paint, ink, glue, metal, glass, bamboo,
Found oil paintings on canvas,
epoxy putty, RTB resin, safety wire, and soft pastels. We had pins. We asked for 101 by 40 by 23. They gave us 210.8 by 129.5 by 119.
For what was unexpected, the gods found a way. Human wisdom, as usual,
showed itself liable for exponential decay.
and that's all you get from this chorus, Doris. So ends the play.
Exit all. End of play.
Everybody. I'm Russell Buckley. I'm the assistant principal here at Vapa. And thank you for being here and experiencing this unique play. We're absolutely thrilled that we were able to partner with the Broad and journey together in this construction, deconstruction with our incredible students. So before we get started, I would just like Currie to step up and have a few words, so thank you.
I just wanted to say that, Anne and I were invited out by Elliott and by the Broad and by the school to come and do this play. And these folks in about 30 seconds realized that we have no knowledge of theater. Zero. And they very quietly took it over and made this thing. So they did that in like 6 hours. So we should give them incredible credit for the work they did. And as you can see, this is why I would never be on the stage, because I said Polynices instead of Pentheus. I confused my classic texts. So thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Hey, we're on the seats. We might need to pull a few more seats in. We go back.
Scoot over. Make room for me. What are you doing? Come on. Don't make me sit back. Oh, you go that way. Make room for me. Yeah, really. Okay,
All right.
there you go.
I don't want to be sitting in front of anybody. Maybe I should be standing then, making sure that I'm able to move around the room with you guys. So, for those of you at home, welcome. We would love to now just go into some Q&A and explore and give context to what we have just seen. Love to start with Anne Carson. And just real quick, to put it in a nutshell, excuse me, what were the inspirations that motivated you to adapt the Bacchae into the Pinplay? What were your
Well, just
inspirations?
Elliott's invitation. Oh, wait, we talking to this?
Yes, thank you.
Hi. That must have been bewildering for everybody. It's okay if you admit that. Elliott asked me to write something about his paintings, especially the one that you can see at the Broad. Oh, lovely. And so I just thought into it and tried to connect it to the idea of pins. I don't know if you have a mental image of Elliott's painting. The one at the Broad is covered with, I don't know how many, 1 million, let's say, 1 million pins on top of the imagery. And it seemed to me that that was a mechanism for containing the image. It seemed like all the colors and movement and reality inside the paint and the other components of the image were trying to get out, and the pins were keeping them in. I don't think that's how he conceives of it, but that's how it struck me. So I thought that the play, the Bacchae, is about emotions that need to be released but are in social life generally closely contained. So I thought the pins, or the whole concept of fastening and unfastening, would be a way to organize the ideas of the play. So that's why it's so much about fasteners and stuff. And then the rest of it, I don't know, just unrolled from there.
Thank you. Then I have a question for Elliott. Can you share with us what it felt like to invite all of these students and our visual artists as well into your studio?
Oh, well, I did that. Initially, they asked me if I might visit with them and the work, which we did as well. But I just thought, since my studio and it sort of explains, and the environment sort of explains the way that I work, so that they could really get a sense of it and see it and demonstrate it rather than me explaining it as an intellectual exercise.
Thank you. And to follow on from the Pinplay and the motif of fastening, can you elaborate how you converge with Anne around that whole topic of fastening, breaking, reforming, and how that pin issue becomes a centerpiece here?
Well, I was thinking, the head gets severed. So that's a pretty clean break. And this idea of like holding things together, that whatever the structure or order of civilization and our social contracts are pretty tenuous. So it takes more than glue. So yeah.
Thank you, and I want to expand on the issue of the pins with students definitely a bit more in the conversation. Thank you. Pardon me, the mic, beg your pardon.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so Currie, over to you. As you really came in and was the kind of the creative who worked with the students the most in leading workshops, etc. I'm curious how your process of empowering actors. Your process of making every person in the space a leader or an entity of individual momentum. Can you explain your process to us and how you empower all participants?
You gotta be kidding, right? Okay. You know, I guess it's just, you know, I don't know if I do that. What I do know is that when we, you know, with these folks, we came in and they all had something. And I guess maybe what we said was, you know, here's your chance to do it. So it wasn't anything more than just opening that up. I don't think I do or we do anything special. I think we just let people make the work. And then I think we also give room to work, which I think is an important part of it. So.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
I'm hearing, and you're quite right, what I witnessed as well was you gave the space to the students to fill the space, and you gave permission, and that was more or less the direction. So that is a sort of a way to just empower everybody and for them to take the lead from there. I'm going to expand that to students now. Can you, I'm going to put this out to any student who would like to respond. What was the, how did it feel to have that permission to be able to move forward? Janine? You can introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Janine, and for me, it felt very different than like what it would have if they were like kind of controlling more of what we were doing and, you know, how we were going to approach this play, especially since it was like a couple days, and I remember everyone was like, oh no, like this is going to be like so scary, and everyone was like stressed about it. But like on the first day, it's like we kind of broke the ice with that, because when they explained to us, like, you know, this is all you guys, and, you know, when we would like try to ask them, you know, like, oh, can we do this? And they're like, this is all you. And I just think it was a very unique experience, and I enjoyed it a lot, and all of us definitely played a big part in like making this, and yeah, it's pretty fun. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to expand on the process? Thank you. Pardon me.
Hi, I'm Shael. I wanted to add on to what Janine was saying. Thank you. That it was definitely really different to us, because especially with the theater classes we take now, they give you a lot of instruction, a lot of, oh, you're gonna like be here, you're gonna do this. And with this, it was more liberal. You didn't have to, it was something that I didn't expect I would get out of this, and it was a different perspective on what I would have expected, and I really enjoyed that.
Thank you. Pass it on. Somebody would like to add. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Tessa. And so for me, this project was really interesting because it allowed us to take possession of the piece. And so we all were able to kind of put a piece of ourselves in it. Like at the very beginning when Sophia and Janine come from the back, that was something that they came up with. And so it allowed us to kind of put our own spin on what Anne and Elliott had already created. So that was what stood out to me about it. Thank you.
Very interesting.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Sophie. I think it was a very fun experience, because I know a lot in acting, it's really important for actors to make choices, but of course, you know, we have teachers and whatnot who still sort of expect things to go a certain way, and I feel like with this, nothing, like, they didn't expect anything, like, not like that, but like, they didn't have something there. We had to, you know, make it ourselves, and that's what gave us so much freedom, you know, because I know they repeated it a lot. They were like, there is no right or wrong answer, and I feel like that was really freeing, because I think any actor is always like, there is a right way, there is a wrong way, but in reality, there's really not, and I think they really emphasized that, and it made it a lot easier to work.
I'm Angelica, and I really liked the part where you could tell there was like two characters. I played Pentheus, and then Daisy played the other Pentheus, and I think we like have our own unique way of playing the character, and you kind of got to see that at the same time. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move over to the teachers now, but just in listening to the students, it is like you were also putting your own pins into space and making your marks, making the mood and the mood board work for you. So that's just an incredible process. Dr. Metz and Ms. McManus, how did this feel in what you feel students might have needed to unlearn in the process?
I'm going to put a pin in that because I saw Daisy with her hand up, and I really want to hear what she's going to say.
Thank you. I'm Daisy, and I just wanted to very briefly say that I feel incredibly grateful that Anne sort of surrendered her work to us over these past few days, because we talked a lot about what each word meant and how important it was to protect those words and then to also take those into our own hands and make something of it that was our own interpretation. And I think it was just so incredibly beautiful, and it was a really, really wonderful way to get to learn this poetry, this piece, connect it to the art piece, and just be a part of the experience. It was fantastic. So, thanks, Mr. Metz.
Hi, so I'm Dave Metz, and I've had the pleasure of being the teacher for a lot of these students. And so getting back to your comment about unlearning, I think we all kind of came to this with a certain degree of how are we going to do this, and the fear associated with, okay, we're going to do this in 6 hours time. It's, you know, I think I know my own perspective. I felt out of my depth. We're working with these world-class artists and thinkers. And as a teacher, I just wound up trusting my instinct that it's better, at least this has been my thinking in my last few years of teaching, it's better to step down and not be the expert sometimes, and to kind of be the guide on the side and not the sage on the stage, as they say. But because when you step aside, it creates this uncomfortable vacuum that the students inevitably fill. But you have to have the courage to not be the expert and be willing to be seen as someone who does, you know, the answer to the question is, I have no idea. Let's find out, and live with that awkwardness, but then reassuring everyone, because theater has this sort of hierarchy that's unfortunate, that comes with this convention of theater of there's a boss, a director, and that director tells the actors what to do, and there's a plan, and the text is the most important thing, and we are on a budget, and there's time constraints. And all of those things create fear and take a lot of the joy out of the process. And for us I kept saying, you know, like, let's just lock the door to fear. Let's not open that up. Let's be in this place together and just kind of revel in our imaginations and our creativity. And it was just, once we saw like fireworks start to like sparks fly and ignite each other's imaginations, you could see, okay, this is like a room full of mousetraps that's never gonna stop going off. And so we could probably keep doing this play, and it'd be different every time, and we would just get better at, not at this play, but maybe thinking about, what is good, So that's my journey.
Hi, I'm Julie McManus. I'm the visual arts chair here, and I initially involved my painting 2 class in this project, thinking that we were making works on paper to project, and then we ended up moving the venue, so we made these wonderful paintings, and a group of students made these paintings and all the props in 3 days. And they only had about 3 hours of contact time with me, so we did thank you to all the other academic teachers who let the painters free. During the day, everybody got out when they could, and my mantra the whole time was like, you can't do it wrong. Nobody's gonna get mad at you. You just can't do it wrong. So we had a similar thing going on. It ended up that I read the Pinplay a couple of times to them, and Anne's introduction while they were brainstorming this, and we just pulled out imagery, temples, mountains. We felt like it was nighttime or becoming nighttime. And then I told them my only requirement was that it be things that actually could have been in Greece. So they had to research a little bit of foliage and landscape that, so at any given hour, we would have 5 or 6 kids showing up to work, and they changed all day long. And I would go teach my other classes and come back and just check on them. So they really were generating this in the same manner, kind of on their own. And I just said, like, you know, we trust you to get it right. And they've been painting all year, and they just painted the heck out of these things. So.
So, thank you very much, teachers. Now I really want to open this up to the students and make this, let's just say, a call and response piece or a chain of consciousness piece. But there's some, I'm going to have a few examples of captions from the play. And we're going to pass the mic around. So what we're going to do now is we're going to respond to these captions in any way that you feel that is either logical, intuitive, reactive, but these lines have been living with you. These captions you have been embodying. So just sprout other pins from these pins. Life is a rehearsal. Keep steeping. Number 1.
Hello, I'm Camila, and when I hear this phrase, it really just reminds me that there really is no right or wrong when it comes to life in general. And I remember being told many times in my life that life is not complicated and that we make it complicated. And really, life is as a rehearsal. When I first heard it, I was very confused. I'm just going to be honest. But it's more like a feeling. You can't really explain it. Think of it as there's no second chance. You don't have the choice of reliving yesterday or trying to figure out what tomorrow is going to look like. And with this play, we didn't know what we were getting into. I mean, the first few meetings that we had, we talked about the book, we talked about the whole storyline and how it made us feel, and we all had different perspectives of it. And when we started working and we finally got the chance to bring in our own ideas, it really reminded us that we have our own ideas that we have to put out there, and that our ideas matter, so no matter what, we have to make sure that we always get them out.
As someone who's been in rehearsals for a majority of my life, it's a feeling of you put yourself out there, you get some notes, and you keep workshopping for however long. And I think human beings, we're always workshopping. We're always growing. We're always getting notes back from, the directors of life, whether that be, actual people or jobs or communities or things that we try or experiences. And so we get these notes, we take them, and we keep working, and we just rework and we rehearse every day, and we grow every day. And so I find that my growth throughout a rehearsal process, whether it be, as short as 6 hours or as long as 4 months, I'm growing in the same way that I grow in my life. And I find that it's a very similar experience.
When I think of rehearsal, this was my first time ever rehearsing something, and so it's a very unique thing, but I think
rehearsal in general is a pretty common word. So what comes to mind is usually just what Daisy said, like throwing yourself out there, you know, trying new things, because back to the actors making decisions and stuff like that, you have to find out things for yourself, you know, and life is a rehearsal is just sort of like, the rest of that line is life is a rehearsal for life. And so I guess it's just saying like, you only have one shot, you know, no matter what you believe in comes after. Right now is just right now, and we can't have it again, if that makes sense. So you might as well, you know, live life to the fullest, you know, as somebody who's like very nervous about stuff and very like, I don't know, just a lot of things scare me. I guess life is a rehearsal, just like try it out, you know? What could you lose?
I find the best things come out of trying new things, and when you go at it, like when you just put yourself out there, I don't know, the best things come out of it. I don't know, it's really rewarding. So, yeah.
Okay, next one. Gods get a kick out of pinnacles. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Isabella. The interesting thing about that line is it's a play on words because obviously it's talking about pins, but also a pinnacle is a culmination or like the climax of something. And so, especially in terms of Dionysus, but in most Greek myths and legends, gods kind of get a kick out of the biggest parts of the stories. Like most Greek myths and tragedies, they kind of start off with the little people, and then at the major parts, the gods step in. So I think it's an interesting line to be put in this play because it's like Dionysus isn't really part of this until things culminate. He isn't really he doesn't really care much about the build. He only cares about the excitement and the frenzy of the climax. He doesn't really care about anything else.
Okay, we go to the next one, and let's make this the last one. You have one. Excuse me. Pardon. Thank you.
Okay, this isn't really like a you know important thing like everyone else has said, but I just wanted to state how we all started. Well, the chorus started kind of arguing about who was gonna say that line because we thought it was gonna be difficult to say pinnacles, and if we messed up on stage, we were gonna get embarrassed. So, and you said it.
Thank you. All right. On a serious note, stain them as prizes. Rephrase it for me if it's incorrectly written by me. Thank you. So how do you spring off from that?
So the line would be, I've stained them as prizes. And what comes to mind when I hear this line is how most people, they don't exactly watch the build-up. They only watch the final production, and then they judge people by what they put out there. But they don't, sometimes they don't think about the build-up. They don't think about how they came across this process of the idea that they came up with. And I've stained them as prizes is just that we've only seen them at their highest point. We haven't seen them when they're building up. So that's what I think when I hear it.
I just wanted to say very briefly that the line, given that it is said by Agave, reminds me of how, when I was rehearsing this and working on this, I basically completely shut off from this half of the play and also from any scene that I wasn't in because I just didn't get a chance to see them rehearsed that much, or at all in some cases. And so it was a very interesting thing about this project is that there is an entire another play going on next to me, and I can't. I'm not in it. You know, I can't. It's not there.
Something interesting I find about that line is that a couple lines later, stained is used again. It's something along the lines of the stains that were left on the woman he was, or something like that, which is in reference to Pentheus, who puts on the dress in the guise of a woman and finds that he likes it maybe a little too much. But I just think that was very interesting that stained was used in both those places. I think it kind of talks about how change always leaves a mark. Even if you've changed and then gone back, like, you're never actually fully the same because the change has already taken place and the evolution has already happened.
Very, very brief, but I also think when I think of Dionysus, I think of wine, and sometimes when I think of wine stains and how difficult they are to get out. Not that I would know personally. I have parents, that's how I know. But I think of, how a wine stain is very difficult to get out, and then I sort of connected the two in my head, that difficult stain of life and that difficult state of wine. Yeah.
Great, this one has momentum. Fantastic. Oh, Lord. It's indelible.
I think this is a really interesting line because it almost connects to the idea of pinnacles. And like Camila said, like the idea of seeing someone at their highest point, you don't see what sacrifices they've made to get there. So it's almost like you have this prize for Agave, it's believing that she has like the head of a lion, but she doesn't see, and like we don't see the sacrifices that have given her this prize. So like she doesn't realize that she's given up her son to feel this power.
I'm going to be really honest. I had no idea what it meant. I would read through the script, and I had no idea. The same thing with the pinnacles. I had no idea what it was until now. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, you're right, in a way, because Agave claimed this like head of a lion on the I forgot the name, but she had the, on the lacuna, and she had the head, but just claimed it as hers. But it was so much more than that, and she hadn't realized, which is why I think the word stain was really a key word here, because now that's going to affect her so much more than she realizes. If you go into the depths of like this whole, she has her son's head. And that's just what I wanted to say.
Well, for your spontaneous learning right there at the very end, you've made a very profound statement. Thank you to all of these amazing students. Thank you. So through that tapestry of just responding, we see how these pins have, made their own markings on our students, and that will propel them forward. I'd love to have just a few comments or questions from the audience. So I'm going to hand you the microphone. It has a very long cable. And thank you very much for putting up your hand.
First of all, thank you guys, everyone involved in this, but it's such a treat and so amazing. The double line that I'm sure there's a term for it that I don't know, where you were speaking at the same time, that was fantastically engaging and interesting. How did that come about? And yeah, how did that come about?
Well, actually, we were told that the cast was supposed to cast it ourselves, and we actually decided to cast multiple people as in the same role. Like there were 4 Dionysuses, and I believe 2 Agaves, and 2 Pentheuses. And sort of some of us decided to, to, you know, maybe like try and work with it, make us like sort of like, we wanted to show that we were the same person and we wanted to be like sort of in sync. I'm sorry, so many people.
No, wait. Do you want to go first? No, well, like, okay, fine. Okay, the true idea here was at the beginning on, like, the first workshop when we hadn't casted absolutely anyone and we weren't really prepared for anything at all, Mr. Currie here recommended doing 2 plays simultaneously, side by side. And so we really thought that idea was really cool, and we thought, hey, why not do that? And since there were multiple people who wanted to do multiple roles, we said, well, let's just do it. Let's just do it. And we did.
Yeah, so as they mentioned, there was the idea brought about to have the simultaneous plays. And from that, Angelica and I, who was the other Pentheus, had the idea to have us try and say our lines as in sync as possible, because Pentheus is this character that is so focused on abiding by the rules and sticking to a plan and not being led astray, even though, you know, he eventually is. But we spoke about that when we were rehearsing our part. We wanted to create something that felt like when you heard those characters speak, you could tell that they were just very rigid in their mindset. And that's also why we went further a little bit with the costume of deciding to have black and white underneath the very regal colored capes, because I thought of Pentheus as a very like structured person who sort of thought of everything as black and white, very simple, and no real complexities. So yeah.
Hi, my name is Sati. One thing I wanted to add that I thought about when you asked that question was what I thought when we had first talked about doing 2 things going at the same time. It was like I was kind of worried. I was like thinking about it. Like it was a really cool idea just like in your head, but there was a lot of like worries that also came with that. But one thing that I think really helped me personally is when we had done a workshop where we had tried to run 2 things at the same time. It wasn't on our scripts, it was just something we had put together in groups, but it was really helpful to figure out how everything flowed with 2 things moving at the same time. And I think even at one point we had tried doing 3 things at the same time to try to see how that would sound, but that was actually really cool. I think we all ended up liking that, actually. Yeah, but that was really helpful, and it helped show how we need to have things layered and how we need to like stack things so it can all be understood with 2 things happening. So yeah, that was helpful.
Okay, we have another question from the audience. We have 2. Thank you. Okay, first. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
It's actually just a comment. I am so impressed by all of you guys and how philosophically you guys have engaged with this text, and you're all actors. And I know that this was more experimental almost of a project. But if you take this level of thoughtfulness towards what you're doing, I mean, I really do believe that acting is all about the choices that you make and how specific they are. But if you take this level of thoughtfulness, just listening to all your responses of how you thought specific lines, what they meant to you, even lines that weren't your own, plays that were going on next to you that you couldn't be a part of, I think that is the key to success for all of you down the road in the future, is to be that specific, to engage with it that deeply. And I'm just ridiculously impressed. You guys are awesome, and this was amazing. The play was great, but this discussion afterwards is even more illuminating. So thank you, Dr. Metz. Thank you to everyone who participated in this. This was amazing. Thank you.
You know, I want to concur 100% of what you just said. I am just sitting here. I'm so blown away. I'm so impressed at the level that you took on this challenge, and your thought-provoking, moving, insightful piece was portrayed because you were deeply moved and thought-provoking about it. and analyzed it and spoke to each other. And acting is completely about choices. And I'm so happy that you have the opportunity to experiment with those choices. The greatest things we see in live theater usually, or on a TV screen or a movie, is that choice that the actor just thought of. And sometimes it could have been an accident. And right, and that thought just comes and it becomes this worldwide, piece or experience. I want to thank Anne and Robert and Elliott and the Broad for bringing this opportunity to our students. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I want to thank Ms. McManus and Dr. Metz and Mr. Copley for jumping on this. You guys, what you accomplished in 6 hours and the workshops you did this week is extraordinary impressive. And you could, like you said, you could keep doing this piece and finding new nuances, but you're vested in it. And this conversation that you really took it and saw the vision is extraordinary. And I do want to ask you, and so please give yourselves a hand as well. I know we've been giving you hands. Give yourself a hand. Truly of what you accomplished today. And this is going to be in our minds. Like I'm a reflector, and so I'm gonna be thinking about this, not just right now, but tomorrow, the next day, tonight. I mean, this is a piece that is that powerful, and also this discussion afterwards. So I thank you. You should be so very proud of everything that you have done here. I do want to ask an artistic choice. Because I have seen a lot of readings in my life, and I wanted to ask, it could be Robert, or if it's a cast, if you guys did it, the actors, when was it a choice just to write your pieces afterwards as an artistic choice, or was there a meaning behind it? I was like, because it was cool, and I'm like, I've never seen that, right? So is this just artistic, or was there, right, a meaning or a thought behind it, and what does it mean? What's the deeper meaning of it?
It's because it made a mess. So this whole thing for us was a mess because 6 hours is definitely not enough time. And I think, stop lying. I think it was great, but it was definitely not enough. And since it was already a mess, why not make more? So we throw our papers and we break the pine cones. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the applause. Thank you. I know I deserve it. No, okay. So truly, when we were looking at High House Low, Elliott's work, we thought, right, because Dionysus, he loves chaos. He is a being of pure chaos. And our idea here was kind of to imitate that chaos. So the point was to make a mess, like Shelley said, just to make a mess out of everything. That's why we just threw the lacunas and threw papers, and we just stepped over it as if it were nothing. And I really think that's one of the, even the chairs, by the way, when we set the chairs up like that, it's intentional. It's not a mess. It's not a mess because we didn't organize it. No, that wasn't it. That literally wasn't it. We wanted the chairs to be as messy as everything else was. And truly, I think that's one of my favorite parts of being part of this.
So,
also because this was like an enhanced stage reading, as Mr. Currie put it, we had our scripts on hand, so also instead of it being stapled together, which it initially was, it made it easier just for us to like just drop the papers and also add to that chaos. So it was an artistic choice as well as like pre-planned, just to make it easier for the actors because we had to have the script on hand.
Magic, thank you, Sophie. Okay, well, I think this is a good time just to put a thank you very much.
I wanted to ask the students, given that this is a very different way of working, how you think this will change how you approach your work in the future?
Well, I think it would change a lot for like all of us here because we're so used to, being told what to do, how to do it, like, you know, and I feel like before this, we were probably a bit more scared to go with what we wanted to do and everything, and we weren't as independent with ourselves and our choices, like when we're performing and everything. And I just feel that this may have changed, like our mindset and how we will approach, you know, different roles and everything like that in the future, you know? Like before you perform, you know, I just feel it'll make us more independent and more like free, and just kind of letting ourselves also put some of us in whatever character, whatever we're gonna be doing next. And that's what I also really enjoyed about this, because again, it did create a different perspective for all of us. So I just think that it did a big effect.
Thank you, Janine. We have a couple.
So it would be more like visual artists.
I don't know. A lot of us, well, basically all of us have been contained over the past few years, and we've been, and we all know what that feeling is like. And as an actor and a learning actor and a student, especially in the time when I couldn't be on stage, I was just yearning to be able to fill a stage, because in the time that I was in my room, all I wanted to do was be on stage, and all I was thinking about was how I was going to take all these big risks that I didn't take when I was sort of taking advantage of the fact that live theater was a thing, because I thought that, you know, live theater is always going to be around, and the second it got taken away, I had all these plans to be big on stage again. And so this experience of being told you can make a mess and it can be chaotic and you can have fun with it, it just opens up the possibilities to fill that stage in a way that I hadn't before. And I just want to keep doing that. So this is just heavily inspirational.
To add on to what these two have said, I think this experience, having the ability to give out our own ideas, because yes, and sometimes, most of the time in the arts, especially when you're a learning artist, people will tell you this is the correct technique or this is the way you're supposed to do it. But in this experience in doing Pinplay, we were given the opportunity to put out our ideas, and everything that you saw here on stage was every single person's ideas put into one amazing result. So this experience, I think, for some of us, it's gonna teach us to put out our ideas more. And I know personally for me, I'm not really a person who puts out their ideas. I always try to go with what the crowd is, but this experience has inspired me to put out my ideas more, even with the possibility of being shut down of it. It really just makes me feel more brave to put out ideas more and just having my own perspective and into a result.
Yeah, about sort of the process of being able to put your ideas out there to create this, this was a great opportunity to have the text and have Pinplay and have these various medias that Pinplay itself is based upon, and trying to fit. You can sort of work with Easter eggs. You can sort of work with ways of trying to fit in fun little ideas more so than normally, because with more realist pieces, you have to make a performance that is real. You know, you're a person. You're not, but here you can be more of a character.
One thing that was really different for me that I think that I'll definitely take with me onto other things that I do is just, well, when we had first heard about just the lack of like anything that was happening, and I was instantly worried, because usually when you're an actor, you're given something to grow from. You're given like a blueprint or like an outline of what you already need to be, and then comes where you like fill in the blanks. But in this case, we were kind of just given like a blank piece of paper, And we did do that in one of our activities, actually. We were given an actual blank piece of paper, and we were just told to write or put or not put anything that we wanted. And that was the first time I was like, oh, so it's just me now. I have no like crutch of someone else's ideas to hold on to grow from. It's just me, and it all starts from me. And I thought that was really interesting to just grow from my own ideas and not someone else's.
Thank you. Okay, citizens of Thebes, citizens of Los Angeles. Sophie's gonna always put a bow on the end. Thank you.
Sorry. I think this is actually one that maybe all of us should speak on, because I think this was such a different thing to sort of experiment with, and so I really think it stained us. I think it would really left its mark on all of us and the way we're going to go into things in the future. As an actress, I think it really helped me just do, not whatever, but like do what I thought was best, and nobody was there to be like, I think you should change this, unless I mispronounced the word, then they were like, oh, you mispronounced the word, but it was never like, you could do that too. We could also correct each other on stage, that was something, but it was never like I did something and they were like, no, you should do this instead. It was just like I could sort of just do it. And also as someone who wants to, go into directing in the future, when we were like first coming up with everything, we would give out our ideas, and it really showed us to compromise, to blend in everybody's ideas to make this final product, and it really showed to work together, but it also showed me to give out my ideas, because the worst thing they can do is say, maybe we should try something else, and trying something else is never bad. It's just a new experience,
For me, I don't know, in acting you're taught a lot to think about a character on how it's written, like how the author has created this character, you're trying to become that. But for this, because we were given so little, guidance, it really helped us to form the character from our own point of view, figure out what in this character reminded us of ourselves. And that really helped me, and I think it's going to help me in the future in trying to find a character from inside of yourself.
Something I'll never forget about this experience is on the first day of workshop, we were coming out of rehearsal, and Wendy was like screaming at us, like, we only have 72 hours until this production, and we're not memorized, we're not even casted, and we were lost. And I remember when I was walking to my car, Wendy was screaming at me to memorize. I did not do so. But I think, definitely this was something that will always be memorable to me, because I don't have that much theatrical experience, but from what I do have, it's so structured. But now with this, it's going to be something that will teach me that no matter what role I'm going to have, there's always a part of me that's going to be in it. And I think that's really important for me. There you go. Have it.
Hello again. About the memorization. The first time around, we were legitimately told by Mr. Metz not to memorize. We were told not to memorize anything. And any bit of information we got from this project, it was minimal. It was very minimal. From the moment Mr. Metz had emailed Anne Carson, she said, let the students cast themselves, and nothing else, basically. That was about it. So we were given this huge amount of liberty, and it's so amazing that we got this opportunity, because I know it's such a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I really do feel that in a very paraphrased way of saying Mr. Stevenson's line, Mr. Stevenson, our theater teacher, he usually says, you cannot act without bringing yourself onto the stage, because you need to be there within your character. You don't become the character becomes you. And I feel like that just makes this experience has made it so much easier for us to comprehend that. And I feel like our cast in itself has been very diverse and very unique, and that's something I love about this school, that we can be so unique. Like even our ASL interpreters here, and I'm pretty sure that someone mentioned that it was a Black-owned business. I think that's pretty amazing that we're able to do, and I have to thank everyone involved for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you for calling me out. Yeah, this experience has really showed me and yeah, how like acting in general, a lot of people tend to want to be perfect and like in a way be very organized, whereas in this play we saw that we don't have to be organized to have an awesome production. And yeah. Woo.
I learned a lot about patience. Like, it takes so much patience to create, and I kind of just a lot of times like stood there and listened and soaked in all the creativity, and it was really nice. And yeah, thank you.
I'm going to move it over to the other side. Okay, it was over here.
What I've learned from this experience is, well, as an actor, it's just there's so many paths that you can take, and often we're just like so confused, and we're often dependent on like other people to sort of like criticize us on whether like, I don't know, what interpretation should we take on this character. And sort of being in this experience where we're the ones in control, it really allows you to let your creativity flow and just like find yourself within this character.
Hi, I'm Jacob. During the whole thing, I kind of just like sat back and like let everybody else do the directing and whatnot. I've never done any sort of acting, and when Mr. Mentz like invited me to do this, I originally wasn't going to do it because I was kind of scared, to be honest. But I think it's just been nice to see everybody, all these people that, or most of these people that I had never met before this, come together and create this really cool thing. And I'm glad I decided to be a part of it.
Well, thank you. We have had so many expressions, and the expressions kept on building, and they kept on morphing and building on one another. And this is like democracy in action, and you've democratized the theater experience at our school as the students have taken charge of their own momentum and their choices and built communities. So in that individualism, there's been this incredible collective growth. And raise your hand if you know that somebody next to you or apart from you here right now is not in the same theater class or another class. So you all come from different groups. And in 6 hours, we have created a democratic platform based on an incredible Greek play and inspired by the visual experiences and then the interpersonal relationships that have been built. So this is what has happened. And I do want to thank our illustrious guests and sponsors for this event, the Broad. And I want to hand it quickly right over to our Master of Ceremonies and just to lead us into a performance. Thank you very much.
Okay, so here's the thing. After all the things about democracy and the demand that you do something. So when Anne and I do performances, we don't do theater. When we do performances in galleries or theaters or wherever, for years we've ended it with a piece by Yoko Ono called Scream, where we have everybody scream at the top of their lungs for 30 seconds. It's COVID. We can't really scream, but what we can do is we can combine it with a piece by John Cage. So what I want everybody to do is scream at the top of their lungs silently, you know. So we'll do a 10-second silent scream. and that'll be the end. And I'll count down to 1. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Good night.